have access to be able to lock their mic or push PowerPoint slides, they need to have some type of instructor access. And that's real time as well. To bring content into the room, the easiest way to do it is this little button up here in the right-hand corner, Import PowerPoint. Just click that. It'll bring up a browse window. Go look for your PowerPoint wherever it's on a shared drive or whatnot, and just hit OK. And it will go ahead and upload it to the Wimba room for you and organize it by the title of your presentation, and then all your slides will follow. To kind of keep it organizational there. If you happen to have a presentation in another course, you can actually go to More Folders and hit Go. And what we have done is actually shared all of your Wimba content between all of your courses. So if you're in a session for Flash 101, but I was thinking, man, I have a great slide in Flash 102, I could go into my More Folders and go to that course and pull in those slides without having to log out of the system or transport them back over. So I'm going to come into, everybody loves spray nozzles, right? So now I have my presentation from that course that I can pull in. To advance my slides, I can just click on the text, or I can use the arrows up top. What does not work is the arrow button on your keys, like PowerPoint. That's disabled because it's web-based. Those are how you can change your slides. He's already got a circle on here, but let's say maybe I wanted to pinpoint something else, like that nozzle right there. I can actually go ahead and annotate over top of my slides. This is great if you have a tablet functionality, like a Wacom USB input. You can use your pen, or if you have a tablet PC, you can go ahead and write over top of all your slides.
What did you just use to do that?
Over here in my toolbar, it's automatically selected for the pen. So I can come in here and I can actually underline. Kind of the old style paint if you don't have a pen. But it gives you a lot of added flexibility for your presentation. We have a lot of options here. These arrows, you can select an arrow, put them all over. If you click it, it'll change the direction of the arrow. You can type. Now you notice that's gray. It doesn't turn black until I hit enter. This is so students don't see how many typing mistakes you have while you're typing. So it only comes live when you hit enter. The nice thing about this, especially with remote access for virtual office hours or review sessions or just classes in general, you can actually, if we had students in this room, you can actually give them that toolbar on the left-hand side. You can give it to one or all, and they can actually come into your slide and say, no, I'm only having problems with this section, and they can underline it. That way you can see exactly what their question is. Because it is distance, and sometimes it's hard to get your point across both directions. So this gives the students the capability of kind of playing around with your presentation too. Everything with Wimba, instructor has complete control. So you can enable all, or you can disable all. So you can give something and take it right back away. And the same thing with the actual presentation. Down here in our actions, we have a lot of capabilities here. We have a disable chat, I mentioned earlier, where you can actually turn off their chat and they can only send it to you. Disable audio. This is great.
Lecture mode is now on.
This is a pure lecture. They can't talk back to you. So you can lecture and say, okay, at the end of the class, I'm going to have a 15-minute Q&A, open back up the mics. If you have any questions, that's the time to do it. This helps with that kind of moderation of the course.
Lecture mode is now off.
One key thing is if you have anybody as a presenter or as an instructor, you can't turn off their mic. So if you're co-teaching and somebody is talking a lot, you can't turn them off. So you just kind of have to live with that. Down here in the bottom, we have some built-in polling. Check for yes. You'll see that I get checked over there and an X for no. So you can say, hey, can everybody hear me okay? Check yes for, yes. Obviously you can't hear me, you're not going to say no. So that way you kind of get some immediate feedback there. Here is a great thing, is a hand raise. This will put a 1 by the first person who raises their hand, and it will proceed 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on, according to who raised their hand. The nice thing about this is a pretty small window. Probably one of the things you're thinking, well, how will I know if somebody has a question? Whoever's first in order will get bumped to the top of the list. So you don't have to scroll and look to see if somebody has a question. It will basically put them to the top, so you can just kind of glance down there and say, okay, what question do you have?
On the student view, is it possible that, or do they see this type of window, or is it? Do you have to tell them about where the polling is and how to do it?
Usually, kind of in the very first session, and kind of give them just a generic overview of the room, pretty basic. We've been pretty impressed by how quickly students have picked this up. I trained the help desk on this, and before I knew it, I wish they didn't have super access because they were all in there as instructors. They were posting pictures up here, putting beards and horns on people, and I couldn't turn them off because they had super access. So they pick it up pretty fast. But for the student view, it's basically everything but this little window here. They see your slides and they have this bottom section. This is basically your control window for your presentation on that side. Other thing that we have smiley faces and all this good stuff that nobody uses. One thing that does happen sometimes, especially with some newer students coming in, is this is speed up, slow down. That way if you're going too fast, they can say, hey, I can't keep up. Or a lot of students now are saying you're going too slow, kind of speed it up so I can get in and out. Here in this room pulse, this basically gives you a quick glance at what everybody's doing, especially with that polling, how many is yes, how many no's, how many hand raise, and some of the other things. How many people are clapping. But here back in this actions, the nice thing about this too is you can actually clear their hand raises and clear their yes and no's. So you've answered that student's question, but their hand is still up. Just go over there and put all the hands down, and you don't have to worry about it. Not to say that anybody has experienced this, but sometimes you might have a student who just asks a lot of questions, but you still want to leave everybody else's mic on in the room. You can actually disable individual students' mics and chats. And how you do that is you come back over here. You'll see that it's broken down into columns. This will be voice, camera, chat. You can actually change this plus to minus, and that will disable their microphone.
Do they see that?
And they basically see presentation mode is now on. So they don't know the difference until other students start asking questions. They're like, well, why doesn't my mic work? But you do have that capability. I don't know if anybody has used that yet. I'd love to hear stories if it does happen, just because that's always fun to share. Also, might have taken this out. Yes, we took this out. There used to be a way to actually kick the student completely out of the room. We turned that off just because accidentally people were kicking people out. So if you need that capability, we can turn that back on. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. We've been doing this kind of spur of the moment sort of thing. Now, I want to show you one of the great things about this is we can actually archive everything we say and do in here. And this is what we actually recommend. I wish this was in the documentation for all the H1N1 stuff. But realistically, if campus were to shut down and everybody was trying to use Wimba at the exact same time, it's not going to work. It just won't happen. We don't have the bandwidth and the capabilities to do that. So what we actually propose is you can actually do this remotely from home and make an archive and then post that into K-State Online as an archive instead of trying to hold a live class unless you do it kind of on off-peak hours. To archive, it's pretty simple. Click this record button up in the top right. Hit OK.